Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is the first video of mine that you are seeing. If you are new here, my name is Julia Kelsey. I'm 25 years old. I live in Orlando, Florida, and I have a budgeting and money management coaching business that I originally started over on Instagram, but have brought over to YouTube as well. And this is where I show and share with others that budgeting and money management can be simple and something that's actually enjoyable, and help them get to the place where they're easily accomplishing their financial goals while still being able to live a life that they enjoy. So today's video is going to be another financial goals and net worth update video. So at the beginning of the year, I filmed a financial goals video and I kind of walked you through what my plans were, my goals were for 2022. And in these videos, I walk you through those same goals and show you the progress that I made towards them, specifically in the prior month and over the year as a whole. Also in these videos, I like to do a net worth update, so walking you through the different components of the net worth calculation, showing you my numbers and showing you how my net worth has changed since the prior month. And as always, I will be showing you my budgeting templates in this video, and if you think these spreadsheets might work for you, I do sell them individually on my website for just $10, and that includes all of the trackers that you'll see today, as well as my budgeting templates that I show in my Budget With Me videos. So if you're interested in those, I will leave the link in the description, and all of these templates are always included in any of my coaching packages as well. So now let's take a look at what I was able to accomplish throughout the month of May, looking at my financial goals tracker. So as always, we start with my income, and I didn't set a specific goal for this in that financial goals video. However, it is something that I like to keep track of because this is what's flowing to all of the other goals. So I want to make sure that I'm on track in this category to ensure that I'm then on track in all of the other categories. And I do normally average about $4,000 per month in income, so that's kind of what I use as a benchmark in this category. So we can see in May, my income was slightly higher than that at $4,380. And we can see my total for the year is at $21,874. And again, my goal here was just 4,000 times 12 because I did expect to have at least that much come in every month. And I like to have a goal here, even though I didn't set one specifically for my income category, because I want to be able to track my percent completed. So this shows me how much of this goal I've completed given the amount of the year that has passed so far. So given that 5 months of the year have passed, I would expect to be about 42% completed in all of these goals. So that's kind of the threshold I'm going to keep in mind when I'm looking at all of these goals to gauge whether I'm on track, ahead of schedule, behind schedule, if I need to make any changes. So we can see here I'm over 45% completed in this goal, so that's well over that 42% threshold, and that shows me that I'm on average receiving more income than that $4,000, which is great, and just more income that I'm able to put towards my goals. And then the next section are my expenses, and I do have kind of an indirect goal for this section. So in that financial goals video, I mentioned that I want to have 25% of my income going towards financial goals, which means that 75% of my income would be going towards expenses. So that's kind of what I used as a gauge in this line item. So we can see in May, my expenses came to $3,194, and my total for the year is at $15,621. So my goal here was just 75% of the goal from the income section, so that would be $36,000. So my percent completed here is 43%. Now this is higher than the 42% threshold that we're kind of keeping in mind, and we would want our expenses to be limited as much as possible, so even under that 42% if possible. However, we have to keep in mind that I've actually had more income come in than that expected $4,000 per month, which would mean that I'm likely going to spend a little bit more than 75% of that $4,000 as well. So while this is over that 42% and we might want to keep an eye on it, we also don't need to be too concerned about it because we know we have that extra income coming in. And then the next section is my debt section, and as I've said many times since the beginning of the year, this is my top priority for the year. My main goal being that I want my student loans to be under $37,000 by the end of the year, and this is the section where I'm tracking that progress. So the first line item is just my minimum payment, so we can see that it's $911 across the board. That's my normal minimum payment that I expect to pay every month, and I paid that again in May. And the total for the year comes to $4,557. And then my goal here is very simple. It's just that $911 times 12, because again, I expect to make that payment every month. And we can see that my percent completed is that 41.7, rounded up to 42, exactly on track to that threshold that we're looking for. Now this next line item is the extra that I'm paying to get me to that goal that I mentioned earlier. So at the beginning of the year, I calculated what I expected I would need above my minimum payments, taking into account any interest I might have to pay to get me under that $37,000. So in total, I want to pay $11,500 throughout the entire year towards my student loans. And if I'm paying almost $11,000 of that within minimum payments, then the extra that I would need would just be a little bit over $500 or $5,623 like we see here. So this is where I'm tracking that extra little bit over $500. And we can see I haven't made any payments towards this yet. We will see a little bit later how much I've saved towards it, but I haven't made any actual payments towards the loan yet, so that's why there's zero across the board here, and then obviously my percent completed is 0, but we still have plenty of time to make progress towards this goal. And then we can also see the percent completed within the debt section in its entirety, which is just under 40%. And that makes sense because the minimum payments is a large chunk of this, but I haven't made those extra payments yet. So that's why this is a little bit under that 42 that we're looking for. And then the next section is my investing section. And again, this isn't one of my top priorities because I am focusing on the debt, but this is something that I still want to keep track of. And I do have one goal that I would like to accomplish this year if possible to make sure I'm not falling too behind in this section. So the first line item is just my 401k that I had when I had a 9-to-5. And I'm just keeping track of any contributions that I made in this category at the beginning of the year, and potentially if I roll this over into some kind of other retirement account and start making contributions again towards the later half of the year, I'd want to keep track of it here as well. However, since I don't know if that is going to happen and there's kind of some questions that need to be answered, I didn't make a goal for this. It's just to keep track of any contributions. So we can see for the year I am at 494, and that was just what I put into this account towards the beginning of the year. No goal, like I said, which would mean no percent completed. And then the next line item is another one that I want to challenge myself to do, like I said, before the end of the year to keep momentum going in this category, and that is to have a Roth IRA. So first off, I just want to open one, and I plan to actually do this in the month of June. So right around the corner, I will either be opening this or potentially rolling the 401k into one. And then my goal for the year is to contribute $2,000 to that. So we can see the goal here. So again, I haven't contributed anything to this yet, and I knew going into the year that this was going to be a second half of the year goal. So I'm not too concerned that I haven't started making progress here, but I do want to start picking it up a little bit in June by opening the account. And then the next section is my savings section, and this kind of falls in between the two. It's not as high of a priority as my debt, but it's a little bit higher than investing just because I want to make sure that I have expenses set aside for things that I know will come up and for unexpected things so they don't derail progress in my debt section. So the first line item is sinking funds, and this is exactly for that purpose, to prepare me for larger expenses and then also unexpected expenses. So we can see in May that I put $275 towards my sinking funds, and my goal for this line I determined by estimating what I thought I would spend within each of my categories throughout the entire year and then adding them all together, and that gave me $3,500. Now my percent completed in this category is only 33%, so that is well under that 42% threshold. And there's a couple things I can do here. I can either make note of this and realize that I'm going to have to largely increase my contributions throughout the rest of the year to make up this progress, or I can be okay with not reaching this goal. And I feel like I will fall somewhere in the middle. I want to ensure that I have money set aside for expenses like Nico's expenses and car maintenance and things like that. But if I'm not able to put extra towards things like clothes/beauty or fun, I'm okay with that balance between the two. Essentials I want to ensure are funded, and the extra stuff I'm okay with holding a little bit back in order to put extra towards debt. So it's kind of a balance between the two, and I wouldn't be surprised if I didn't reach this goal in its entirety towards the end of the year. But again, it's also something I will keep an eye on, because if I do realize that I'm falling behind in those categories that are important, in those categories that I know I need to have funds set aside for, then I know I need to pick up the progress within this category. And then the next line item here is almost like another debt item. So this is my student loan fund. And the idea behind this is it's a savings account where I will set aside $15, $20, $25 that I have extra left over at the end of the month into a savings account. And then I will use that money to make extra student loan payments. So it's giving me a little bit of time to accumulate more money to make larger payments. And we can see that I actually didn't put anything towards this in May, and that's actually because I did focus a little bit more on my sinking funds in May. If you watch my May budget recap, you'll see that I had some funds that were getting quite negative, and I wanted to make sure I was getting them out of the negative back into positive, creating a little bit more of a buffer. So I did prioritize those just a little bit more in May than I have previously in the year. You can see I was usually around 200, and then this month I was at 275. So that's one of the reasons why there is nothing to put towards the student loan fund, so just zero for May. But we can see that my total for the year is at $31, which doesn't seem like much, but every dollar is one step closer to that goal. And we can see that goal is the same as my extra payments from above. It's at $563 because that's what I want to have saved over the course of the entire year. And we can see we're just at 5% so far for the year, well below that threshold. But I know this can be made up in just 1 or 2 months where I'm able to set a bigger chunk aside. So this is something I'll be looking to do in the next couple months to get back up to that threshold that I expect to be at. And then just my percent completed for the savings section in total is just under 30%, which is under that 42, which we'd expect because both of those line items were also under the 42%. And then my last goal was what I kind of mentioned earlier. I want 25% of my income this year to go towards financial goals, 75% towards expenses. And this is similar to what people would have as a savings rate. However, my main goal, like I have been saying, is debt, not savings. So that's why it's financial goals. Just all my financial goals in its entirety, I want 25% of my income going towards them. So we can see in May that 27% of my income went towards financial goals, which means that 73% went towards expenses. So I'm above that goal that I have set for myself. I'm also just a little bit above what I have been doing in the prior month. So that's awesome to be seeing progress in the right direction here. And we can see for the year as a whole, 28% of my income has gone towards financial goals and 72% has gone towards expenses. So I still have a good buffer going here from when I was way above this in January. So that's great in case I have any months that are opposite of what I would like. This will take care of that and help me stay in the area that I want to be in. And now let's switch over and do a little bit of a net worth update. And just as a reminder, the net worth calculation is calculated by your assets minus your liabilities, or everything that you own minus everything that you owe. So we're going to go through those two different sections for myself and see what my net worth was at the end of May. So the first line item here is my checking account, or my checking account buffer. This is the money that I have sitting in my checking account at any point in time as a buffer against bills that are higher, or just in case I have an unexpected expense that I need to have money readily available for. So this is that money. I usually average around $2,500, so that's kind of the ballpark of this. And we can see in May that that was $2,356, right around where I expect to be. And like I mentioned, I did spend a lot in sinking funds over the past few months, so that's why this is a little bit under what I might expect, but also right around my average, so nothing too concerning here. And we can see that that's a decrease from April of $69, which again is probably because of that extra sinking fund spending. And then the next line item here is my savings, so both my emergency fund and that student loan fund that I mentioned earlier. And within these two accounts I have $9,776, and we can see that that was an increase of just about $3, which is just the high yield savings rate that I get from having my emergency fund and Ally, so just a little bit of an increase here. And then the next one is my retirement, and this is mainly my 401k account that I mentioned earlier from back when I had a 9-to-5, and this was actually a good month within my 401k. I know we've seen over the past couple of months the potential of this going down. Last month it did go down quite a bit, so good to see a positive within this account no matter what it is. So we can see at May it was $33,026, and that was an increase of $948. So any positive here, I will take it. And also we have to keep in mind that the market will always bounce back, so we don't need to be discouraged by anything going down, but it's also really nice to see a positive. And then lastly, just my car, and I don't do anything really fancy here. I just use a Carfax report that my dealer sends out every month. And in May, it said my car's value was $20,010, which is a big jump from what it said it was in April. So I'll take this with a grain of salt. I would not be surprised if it went back down in June, but for right now, that is what we're going with, which is actually quite a big increase, $1,150 from April. So I'm really happy to see that we have quite a big increase in the assets, so an increase of $2,033, which is great after last month when we had a pretty decent decrease. So good to see the assets going up here, which is always what we would hope for. And then the next section is my liabilities. I just have two liabilities here. Obviously my student loans is the first one, and my balance at the end of May was $41,901, and that was a decrease of $743. So this is just the portion of my minimum payment that's going towards principal, and then the rest, like $200, went towards interest. So that's pretty average here. And then again, my car loan is one of my liabilities. So we can see my balance at the end of May was $19,075, and that is just a decrease of $302, which is just my normal monthly payment. I did buy my car in 2020 and have like 3 years of 0% interest, so I'm not paying any interest right now, which is awesome. So my entire payment is going straight towards principal. And we can see my decrease in my liabilities as a whole was just over $1,000, $1,046, which is great. We always want to see liabilities going down while the assets are going up. Which brings us to our final net worth number, which was $4,192, and this is actually the highest my net worth has ever been, so it's a great milestone to see. And especially after last month, after it went down from like 3,000 or something like that, went down to 1,000, to see it jump right back up, which I actually mentioned in that video, knowing that the market can do that, it can jump right back up. So it's great to see. Obviously we'll have to keep an eye out. We know it could always go back down, but this is really encouraging to see it jump right back up and even higher than it was before. So that is it for my financial goals and net worth update for the month of May. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and thought it was helpful. And if you did, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you can see more videos like this from me. Also, go over and follow me on Instagram so you can see content from me in between YouTube videos. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one.